Yo, hey, this shit easy, nigga. Hey, all I'm talking about, nigga, I'm still out here trying to get it.
Contender Regime Boxing checking back in with y'all, man. What's good? So, wanted to touch on, what could possibly be next for Errol the True Spence Jr. As we all know, he is currently out with an injury. He's supposed to fight Manny Pacquiao August 21st, but now it's going to be Manny Pacquiao versus Yordenis Ugas. So I'm pretty sure everybody got the news on that at this point. Pretty devastating and disappointing to boxing as a whole. I think this was a huge blow to the boxing community because this was probably one of the biggest fights that we would have had in the last, 5 years. I mean, it was just a huge fight, colossal in every way you want to look at it, from the stylistic matchup, the action, from the notoriety of both fighters, just huge names, and I mean, every way you want to look at it, this would have been a great fight. And it's also disappointing and sad to the point to where this we might not ever get this fight because really, no matter what the outcome is with this Manny Pacquiao and Yordenis Ugas fight, it's a good chance that Manny Pacquiao won't fight again after this. Whether he wins or loses versus Yordenis Ugas, we might not ever see Manny Pacquiao in the ring again. So this could be an opportunity completely lost by Errol Spence Jr. A chance that he'll never get back. And it's unfortunate because it's due to a freak accident, injury that can happen at any time from one punch or a poke in the eye with a thumb, the thumb of the glove. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, this shit could happen at any time. We've seen it happen to fighters in the past. And, so this definitely it's a disappointing situation. However, we still have to move on. And Errol Spence still has to move on. And we still have to, see what's going to happen after this. Now, with all that being said, with me mentioning the obvious that it's a great chance that Manny Pacquiao won't fight again, and it's a chance that Errol Spence will never get the opportunity to fight Manny Pacquiao, what does Errol Spence do next? Does he even stay at 147? You know what I'm saying? If he can't make the Terrence Crawford fight next, which will probably be the only real reason for him to keep making 147. If you look at all the work that Errol Spence put in, getting back with Blu-ray, getting in the best shape of his career, the best shape that he's been in a long time. And, literally after the Danny Garcia fight, he was back running and he was back in the gym and back working. So he kept his weight down and he's been looking in great shape ever since the Danny Garcia fight. So you could tell he's been dedicated and taking his craft extremely serious. You know what I'm saying? So with him putting all that work in and all that time and that effort and that dedication, and with him being, continuing to grow and continue to get, older in age. I mean, he's dead in the middle of his prime right now. So he's not an old fighter by any stretch of the imagination, but he's 31 years old, just turned 31 this year, and welterweight is his lone weight class, his first and only weight class so far. So I mean, there are fighters who can fight a career in one weight class. Keith Thurman has been at 147 his whole career. Marvin Hagler was at 160 his whole career. Triple G has been at 160 his whole career. So there are guys that can do that, but I don't think Errol Spence is one of those guys. I think he desires to move up to 154. He's expressed that desire multiple times. He's expressed the difficulty of making 147 multiple times. And then also I just think he will just feel healthier and stronger and, a little bit more energized at 154 and not having to make that big weight cut. So I don't see Errol Spence being one of those career 147-pound guys. I mean, I think it's possible, but is that something that would be comfortable for him? Is it something that he could do without sacrificing his abilities. So is it worth it for him to stay at 147 and continue to make the weight with you not being able to get that huge fight with Manny Pacquiao, with that possibly being off the table permanently, and with all of the issues that's been going on between Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford? I know Errol Spence wants that fight, and I know deep down, even though Terrence Crawford said he's moved on from Errol Spence, I know deep down he wants that fight as well. You know what I'm saying? And it can still happen at 154. I would like to see it at 147 because that's where the fight has been built at. It's been built at 147. It's been built on the idea of a possible undisputed matchup between Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, or unification at least. So Terrence Crawford is supposed to be fighting Sean Porter next, defending his WBO title. If he gets past Sean, if that fight actually happens, and the David Benavidez and Utsagasi just got postponed due to COVID. You know what I'm saying? I mean, goddamn. Are we gonna get the fights that we want? And that's not even a fight that people was looking for, but I'm just saying, like, it's just always something. Like, all these fights getting pushed back, it's crazy. So you really never know what fights you're actually gonna get until you see these motherfuckers at the press conference. Not even at the press conference, fuck that. Until you see these dudes at the weigh-in or on fight night, fight night, walking to the ring. That's really the only confirmation that you have of a fight actually, like, really happening. So if the Terrence Crawford and Sean Porter fight actually does materialize and becomes a real thing, and he's able to beat Sean Porter, I think maybe that's something that Errol Spence could look at trying to make happen one last time at 147. But another question is, do you take a Terrence Crawford fight, a fighter of that caliber, a fighter of that skill, and a fight of that magnitude? Do you take on that type of opponent fresh off of Errol Spence just had surgery today, just posted a picture of him with the bandage over his eye. You know what I'm saying? So do you fight a guy like Terrence Crawford in a fight that huge, fresh off of surgery, eye surgery at that? You know what I'm saying? With your eyes being, so important in anything you do, but especially in boxing. You know what I'm saying? Do you fight a guy? Do you take a fight like that? Now, Errol Spence did say in his story on Instagram, he posted no tune-ups. I mean, this dude is amazing, bro. Like, this man talking about, I don't want no tune-ups coming back off. I mean, you didn't take a tune-up. You fought Danny Garcia, former world champion, unified world champion at 140 and world champion at 147, was a top 5, top 6 welterweight. You fought him fresh off of the car accident. Now you coming back off of this surgery, or the torn retina, and you like, bro, I don't want no tune-up. Let me get straight to it. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, if Earl feels like he'll be able to bounce back and go straight to a top opponent, then that's on him. That's his decision. But one would have to ask the question, like, is that wise to take a fight like Terrence Crawford immediately off of any type of injury, let alone an eye injury? You know what I'm saying? So that's an interesting thing to pay attention to there. Also, like I said, to be honest with you, the Crawford fight is probably the only fight worth staying at 147 for. You know what I'm saying? In my opinion, I wouldn't be surprised or upset, or I wouldn't blame Errol Spence if he went up to 154, took on a light touch at 154 just to kind of get acclimated to the weight, get acclimated to the division, and then after that, either bring Terrence Crawford up to 154 or fight another top guy 154, maybe for a title, or just a big fight, something like that. Erickson Lubin or J-Rock, or Tony Harrison, somebody like that. You dig what I'm saying? Maybe he can get in there with and avenge his loss versus Brian Castano that he lost in the amateurs. That would be a hell of a fight. So there's a lot of different scenarios and different ways that this thing could play out. But I want to ask y'all, what do y'all think is next for Errol Spence? What's the logical thing? What's the most likely thing? Do you think that it's worth it for him to continue to make 147 after multiple times expressing how it's difficult for him to make the weight, and then with him putting in all this, he said already that after the Manny Pacquiao fight, he was just gonna do one more fight, which was gonna be Terrence Crawford. If Terrence Crawford didn't want it, then he was gonna move up to 154. So that leads me to believe that him coming back, let's just assume that he's never gonna get the Manny Pacquiao fight again. This was a once in a lifetime opportunity, and I think Errol Spence missed it. It's unfortunate. It's not something that's at any fault of his. You know what I'm saying? It's just a freak accident. Things happen, but it's an opportunity, once in a lifetime opportunity to fight Manny Pacquiao, and it's gone. He's probably never gonna get that back. So that would lead me to believe that his next best option would be to take on Terrence Crawford, or the winner out of Terrence Crawford and Sean Porter. And if he's saying no tune-ups, then that will probably be the next best thing. If Terrence Crawford wins that fight with Sean and they can't make Errol and Crawford at 147 next, like first quarter of next year, then I think he should move up and go to 154, take a light touch, kind of get his feet wet at 154, and then just continue on his reign up there. Hopefully he can one day be undisputed at 154, with failing to accomplish that at 147. So y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments, man. How do y'all feel about the state of boxing right now, with everything that's going on, all these fights getting postponed? And then what do you think is next for Errol Spence, given everything that we just discussed, man? Y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments. Contender Regime Boxing, I'll holler at y'all boys, man.